Hello pals, welcome back to my channel. Grab yourself something warm and cozy to drink because we are going to have a little chat. I'm drinking honey, peach and rosemary tea and it is gorgeous. You probably saw in the news recently that story about younger people being like the loneliest that they've ever been and younger generations kind of growing up being lonely. And while all of those articles kind of focused on school children and social media and everything, I wanted to kind of expand it to people like my age, like in their 20-somethings, and just how difficult it is to make friends and make real connections. So I asked on Instagram and Twitter if you had any topics you wanted me to talk about within this or any questions or anything. So I've got a couple of responses and I'll use them to kind of shape what I want to talk about. Tilly Journals on Instagram and Hilary.Louise on Instagram kind of asked the same question. How do you make friends as an adult? How do you make friends once you've left uni? And I am kind of in that stage right now because when you're at uni, when you're at school, when you're at college, you have like a ready-made set of friends. It's the people that you go to school with, it's the people that you study with. At uni there's things like societies and clubs where it's just a bunch of people who have the same interest are brought together and you're like automatically friends. It's really easy. But as soon as you kind of get out of formal education, it's really hard to meet people that have similar interests. And like I said, this is kind of my first time experiencing this because I've moved to a new city and so I don't have all of those connections that I made from uni. I haven't brought them with me, so I'm kind of starting afresh with the friendship thing. So there's a couple of things and tricks that I've been doing since moving to Glasgow to help me meet people and make friends. The first one is to try new hobbies, because the same way that you kind of automatically have those friend groups in school, doing things that are hobbies for you that you find fun puts you in a group with people who have a similar interest. You already have something to talk about because you're both attending this thing. For example, I go to pole classes here, and even though they're quite expensive, I'm trying to save money here, I could not go to pole classes. I think it's really important because I get to meet people there and I get to like socialize with people as well as doing the pole. And I've met a load of really cool girls through doing that, and like I haven't been here that long so we're not like besties or anything, but it's just really nice to talk to people and hopefully like that will kind of blossom into more of a friendship. Another way is to make friends with other people's friends. That way you know that they're good people, like your other friend has already like tried and tested them, so you know they're not weirdos, and you kind of again already have that thing in common through your mutual friend. So for example, me and Adam went on a night out for his colleague's birthday and he didn't really want to go, wasn't really feeling it, and I was like, no, we should definitely go. So I got to meet Adam's colleague and kind of make friends with him, and then Adam's colleague's friends, I got to meet them as well, and I'm still in touch with one of them, like we go and hang out, and I've made a really good friend through that. So it may feel like you're kind of stealing people's friends, like you're friends with them, no, now you're friends with me, but you know, you can never have too many, so it's a good way to share the love. And that might be a good way to kind of bridge the gap between colleagues and friends. If you're hanging out with a colleague outside of work, get them to bring some friends and you can bring some friends, and then you can meet each other's friends and it can be like speed dating but with friends. There are also quite a lot of online ways to meet people in real life. For example, there's a Facebook group that I joined called In Colourful Company, and that's got people in it from all over the country and they just have meetups in different places. So you might have seen on my vlogs, I went on a walk with them at the beginning of September, and those were just a load of strangers. I'd not met any of them before. I met them on this Facebook group and they were like, let's go hang out, and I was like, yeah, down for that. So have a look if there are any Facebook groups in your area that are for people meeting up. I think there are like apps that you can get that for meeting up, like Just Friends. It's like Tinder but just for friendship. I may be wrong, don't quote me on that. If that isn't a thing though, that should totally be a thing. Someone capitalise on this. And also in your local community, keep an eye out for posters in shops and things for little groups that you could join. I was in a shop today and there was a poster for this like feminist group, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. They've got a couple of events on, like little discussion workshop things. So I was like, oh, I might go along to one of them, meet some really cool feminists and just have a chat, and maybe a really cool friendship will blossom from that. Tilly Journals also adds, how do you find the energy to do things in the evenings when you're busy all day? And this is definitely like a tough thing that is so relatable. And I think the only thing that you can do is to really force yourself, because if you don't push yourself to do it, then you just won't. And it's one of those things that you know is good for you, you know you're going to feel better after you've done it, but you just don't want to. It's like I sometimes feel that with yoga. I'm like, oh, I really don't want to, but I know that as soon as I get on the mat and as soon as I do it, I will feel so much better. It's the same with friendships. So you know, if you go out for drinks with your friend or you just go and hang out with them for a little bit, you'll feel so much better afterwards. It's just pushing yourself to do it and setting aside the time to do it and kind of like prioritizing your social health among like all of the other busy life admin things you need to do. And it might feel like if you go to work and you're kind of friends with the people that you work with, that you don't need to do this because you've got your work people and you're hanging out with them all day and then you just want to be alone in the evening. I know I definitely found that when I was working. I was like, I've spent my whole day talking to people, now I just want to be alone. But it is a different level of friendship with colleagues and people outside of work. Even though like your colleagues can be your friends, it's different and it's easier to take a break from work if you're talking to people that aren't from work, because even if you're friends outside of work, the conversation will probably naturally gravitate towards work because that's what you have in common. So it is still important, even if you're exhausted from talking to people and even if you've been talking to people all day, to try and see people outside of work as well, just so that you can get a bit of a break, a bit of a different perspective, things like that. So I think that kind of touches on what is so difficult about making friends when you're an adult or when you're out of education. It's not just meeting friends, it's keeping them. So once you've met loads of new people, you've all got something in common, how do you convert them into friends? And this is kind of a question that Balphasaurus_Rex asked. How do you make friends if you are socially awkward and struggle with small talk? I hate small talk. It's literally my least favourite thing in the world, but it is a necessary evil. This is just something in adulthood that you gotta do, so you might as well get practicing. I think it is made easier if you've met people through a mutual hobby or a mutual friend, because that is your point of conversation. For example, in a pole class, I'd see someone doing a move and I'd be like, oh, that looks really cool, what's it called? Can you show me how to do it? And we'd be talking about the pole move, and then maybe I'd pay them a compliment. I'd be like, oh, I really love your sports bra and shorts combo. Where did you get them from? Talk a little bit about that. And another thing that you can talk about is talk about the other person. People love talking about themselves, so a good opening line is just to ask them something about themselves. You could say, I really love your hair, is it naturally that curly? And then they'll start talking about themselves and you can then respond and talk a little bit about yourself, or just be a really good listener. I am actually not very talkative at all. Like, that might not seem like me when you're watching me on camera chatting away, but I actually find it really difficult to hold a conversation. That sounds really bad. But if you're like me and you're not like a talker, you're not an initiator of conversation, try and make friends with people who are talkers, because then you won't get those awkward silences. You can just set them off talking about something and just be a good listener, and maybe that's what they have been looking for. They've been looking for someone to rant to who is just a good listener, and you can be like the yin to their yang, opposites attract. So if you're a quiet person, find a talkative person. If you're a talkative person, find a quiet person, and we can all be matches. Or another way, and this might seem kind of rude, is to eavesdrop and then start a conversation from there. So like, I was in a cafe today and the guy who runs the cafe was talking to another customer about this like karaoke night he was going to, and then the customer left and I said, oh, that sounds like a really cool event, when is it, can you tell me more about it? And then we just got to chatting. So even though your mum always says like it's rude to listen into people's conversations, sometimes it can be used as like a springboard, as that kind of introductory conversation. Similarly, rather than listening into people's conversations, you could kind of observe what they're already doing and start a conversation from that. So like, if you see someone at the bus stop and they're reading a book, you could start up a conversation with them that is, oh, I've read that book, it was really good, or, oh, is that book good? I was thinking of reading it, can you tell me what you think about it and recommend it? And then you've got a thing in common, you've started up a conversation. And even though these are like really superficial conversations, they're surface level, like you're not besties at this point, just little conversations like that can really help to ease the loneliness I've found. Like when I've been in the flat by myself all day and I just strike up a conversation with someone that works in a cafe, it just lifts my mood and makes me feel so much better. And it is completely different to having a text conversation or like a message conversation with a friend. To just have that face-to-face conversation with someone is like crucial. And even though I've got Adam to talk to and I see him every day, it is different when you're talking to the same person every day to then talk to another human. Like, it's important to get a variety of human contact. And this is something that my friend Beth messaged me about in response to this question. Like, even though you've got loads and loads of friends, you can still feel kind of lonely if you're not talking to other people and if you're not kind of branching out from that group. And this could be the same with like messaging as well. Say you've got like a really close group of friends, but you don't see them very often anymore because you're busy or they live far away, and you could be talking on your group chat every day but still feel lonely because you're not getting that face-to-face contact. So it's important to kind of break out of your comfort zone and try and spread your roots and spread the conversations a bit wider. Or if you can't do that, if you have social anxiety or if you can't get out the flat or anything like that, try and have phone conversations or like FaceTime conversations with friends, because you get so much more from that than just like a messenger conversation or a text. And even though it feels like you can have the best friends in the world on Twitter, especially if you are like from a liberation group or you've not seen people who are like you and then you find like your group of people online, that can feel amazing, but it is not the same as a real life friendship. So if you can, try and meet those people in real life, try and arrange to meet up. Having that face-to-face conversation and picking up on the non-verbal cues and having the awkward silences and, you know, just laughing with each other, that can be kind of like a practice for when you're talking to strangers and when you're making new friends. So much stuff at the moment is edited, like text messages can be deleted or ignored. Even watching videos like this, like you might feel like we're having a conversation right now, but this is edited, this is structured, I've thought this through, my background is thought through, this isn't real. But if we had a Skype and we were having like a Skype conversation about this, there would be pauses, there'd be awkward bits where I forget what I'm talking about, and we'd be interrupting each other all the time. It is different. So if you're in a place where meeting new people and talking to strangers isn't an option for you, that's fine, but you need to reach out and get help. Talk to your family, talk to your friends, face to face, over the phone, over FaceTime, whatever it is, to kind of practice and build yourself up to making new friends. And the final kind of question I had was from Chris Jatine on Instagram, and we were chatting about how much we wanted to have a really close group of friends, like in the show Friends that I just finished watching. And she was like, oh, I really want a group of friends like that, like how close they all are and how they like bounce off each other and they've been so close for years and they live right across from each other. And I think it's important to be aware of how unrealistic that is. Like, it can seem like that's the most perfect friendship group and we should all aspire to that, but it is quite unrealistic, as well as a lot of the friendships you see on social media. Like, you could see someone's Instagram picture where they're like, yes, catching up with my bestie, here's a selfie, we're twinning, whatever, but you've got to know again how filtered and edited and unreal that is. So rather than aspiring to those unrealistic TV friendships, you've got to kind of make the most with what you've got. And if you're kind of aspiring to these amazing friend groups, you might miss out on the friendships that you've got and the friendships that you could be working on and nourishing, because you're all the time like, oh, I wish I had friends like that, when you've got a friend like that right there just waiting, and you just need to work on the friendship a little bit more. And that's another really good point, actually. Just like romantic relationships, platonic friendships, you also have to work on them. Like, they are hard work. You forget to get in touch, you're both really busy, your diaries won't match up when you're trying to meet up with each other, you forget each other's birthdays. I am awful at that. I'm sorry to everyone's birthdays that I've forgotten. But it is hard work and it is worth working for, and that kind of goes back to what I was saying about making the time after work to go and see people. You've got to put the effort in. I have run out of tea and my throat is killing me from talking so much, so I'm going to finish this video here. The basic premise is be open to talking to anyone and push yourself out of your comfort zone, make the time for it and put the effort in to make these friendships. And that is how we can kind of solve our own loneliness and solve this loneliness all together. Let me know in the comments below if you have any other tips for meeting people, or if you're from an area, you could say like, hey, I'm from this area, I want to make a friend, and then someone else in the comments could be like, hey, I'm also from that area, let's be friends. Oh my god, my comment section could be like that dating app. You could put like a little profile, like what you're into and where you're living and, you know, how far you can travel if you drive or whatever, and you could actually meet up with each other. That would just be the cutest thing. On that note, if there is anyone in Glasgow that wants to hang out, I love tea, I love cats, I love cafes, I love going for walks in the park, you know, hit me up. Thank you so much for watching. Every single person that clicks on this video, it means the world and it lights up my life a little bit every time someone clicks, so thank you. Please like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel for more of my videos. I put out some really cool stuff. I'm doing Vlogtober at the moment, so you get to see loads of my daily life, and I really hope we can become friends. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.